adopted the Jewish faith. They adopted the Jewish customs, the laws, and the language. They learned Hebrew and Arabic. Of course. But this is the point. When that Jewish tribe was leading, those kids who are now adults said, hey, we don't want to stay with our parents who are now Muslim. We're going to go with the Jewish tribe because we've assimilated. The Muslim Arabs, who were pagan before, went to the Prophet and said, they're taking our children. And that's when, from our belief, that verse came down saying, let those Arabs of Medina who've accepted the Jewish faith, who want to leave with the Jewish tribe, let them go. You have no right to force upon them any other religion.
So if the text has got...
Guess what? Allah loves you.
Right, so
if you want to be a Jew, you be a Jew.
I know. So if that text is written in a context, like channeled or like going to a medium, the medium gives you a message that's for you and your family, or, you know, don't make any big journeys, or, you know, if you see money, you know, don't waste it, then that's a message for you, isn't it? Not for the whole world. So if there's a context that worked for them at that time, fine, but let's not call that a general teaching that is applicable to the whole world.
No, but there's another...
And that you have to know the context for within it, which it makes any sense other than just seeing it.
You're right. But guess what? There's another verse in the Quran where it clearly says there is no there is no compulsion in religion.
Yeah, but there's loads that say there's like 100 to 1.
But did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did. But I've had this argument with
there's no compulsion in religion.
Yeah, but there's all the other ones abrogate.
Now listen to this. No, it's not abrogate. It's not abrogate.
They cancel out.
It's not abrogate. No, it doesn't cancel out. It's not abrogated.
Just because it says, I could say somewhere, I could have a whole manifesto.
But it's not abrogated.
That says I hate I don't know, all Tories, and then I have one little bit that says, you know, Maggie Thatcher is beloved, and all of a sudden that undoes all the other stuff I said about Tories. It doesn't make sense. You've got to take it. You've learnt it just like Catholicism. As a child, I was
Go ahead.
As a Catholic.
Okay.
So for me, Catholicism has got a normalcy, if you like. I can be critical of it. I'm not Catholic now, but I can see it within the context. Yeah. So for you, you see it within your context. You've grown up with it. Clearly, your family are not going and beheading people. That's not. Yeah. So you see it as a loving religion in which you were brought up, and you don't see the negative. I'm talking about this as a book compared to the teachings of Jesus, which I think the teachings of Christianity are warped, and I think they are far. I think if Jesus was to look at it and look at how the teachings of his supposed church had manifested and evolved, I think he would probably say, no, you've got it wrong.
Oh, and how do you get to that?
I just think that.
You just feel it?
I think it from I think Paul can change the religion from being a religion that was really similar to Buddhism. You know, it was an experiential religion where you wasn't based
Buddhism?
Similar to Buddhism. Yeah?
Are you serious?
It's not just me that writes that. There's lots of books comparing teachings of Jesus to Buddhism.
Look, Maggie, with all due respect, I think you're wearing socks with sandals and you're going to hug a tree in a minute.
No.
This is all fuzzy-wuzzy, lovey-dovey nonsense. All due respect. You can't equate Buddhism with Christianity. No, you can't. Impossible. When Christ in the Old Testament says, go kill babies, and then you're bringing me to, let's pick daffodils and hold hands and skip in a meadow. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're conflating. You're on another plane. Seriously. In the Old Testament.
Jesus didn't write the Old Testament.
Sorry?
Jesus didn't write the Old Testament.
Newsflash.
Oh, because the Old Testament says kill babies.
Newsflash.
Therefore Jesus.
Newsflash. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are one, and they're co-equal. Co-equal. No. Co-equal. It arose after. So whatever's spoken about only according to Christianity.
No.
God is
timeless.
What I'm saying.
Her point
No.
is
I don't mean
she's
God.
picking and choosing.
I mean the
She's
Trinity.
just picking and choosing.
The Trinity.
Look, according to the understanding of the Trinity, whatever God commanded in the Old Testament, good or bad, is equally emanating from the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Equally, because they're all called equal. So when you tell me, no, it's not metaphor. We're not Philo here or anything, or Neoplatonism. It's not metaphor. It's literal. Well, you said you equate Buddhism, so that kind of makes sense, right? So when Jesus, according to the Old Testament, says kill babies, and then you're equating Christianity with Buddhism.
Well, there were some people who believe that Jesus literally went along the Silk Road.
To India?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And came back as an adult and went back and died. There is a tomb in Kashmir.
Yes.
With
hence I said India. I know. Let's get back to reality.
Well, I don't see why that's.
Let's get back to reality. I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question.
I can't speak for Christians anymore. I'm not a Christian.
Which is why I'm still perplexed.
What are you perplexed about?
It's like you're defending Christianity so much so.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying that the teachings of Jesus
yes.
are more appealing to me.
Can I hold that? Yeah? Show me one verse where it says kill babies. You can't find it. Well, with all due respect, if I was to give you the Old Testament, show me one verse where it says kill babies, I'll find it for you.
I think the Old Testament is an abomination.
But then Christianity is like Buddhism.
We weren't
let's drink tea and cross our legs and do yoga.
We weren't comparing.
Look, personally, Maggie, I think, and I'm just going to say as it is, I think your hatred of Islam is blinding you. So much so, a religion that says kill babies, in the scripture, where in the scripture you cannot find it, you're saying this is more barbaric than that. The blinkers need to be wiped. Defrost, spray, whatever you need.
I don't think that
whatever.
The Old Testament,
seriously.
I think the Old Testament and the Quran are very, very similar.
Oh, now they're similar.
Yeah, no, I didn't say they weren't.
Oh.
I said it was I think
the New Testament.
I think the Old Testament is an abomination.
Did you hear what I said, Maggie?
Did you hear what I say? The Old Testament
is an abomination.
I think this is an abomination.
But the Old Testament isn't.
The New Testament.
New Testament isn't.
I think
guess what?
I think it's very hard to know what Jesus said. So I don't believe the New Testament. It might be that if somebody told me Jesus never existed, I'd be up for that as well. That historically that was proven. I think the teachings of love, whatever we want to call
Do I exist?
Whatever we want to
Do
call
I exist?
You exist.
Because you're worrying me now, Maggie. You're saying, well, if someone told me Jesus is, but
no, I'm saying
you have no foundation.
I have got lots of that. My foundation is
what I feel.
I think no.
Yes, what you feel.
No.
Yes.
Words into my mouth.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I
apologise.
I think ultimately that religions are very good for community, but I think ultimately our spiritual growth and development is an individual matter.
Good. So where do we get our morals from, according to yourself?
Well, we get our morals from our family, from our society. And I said to you earlier on,
Go ahead.
Your friend, I think I'm glad that our morals derive from
Christianity rather than Islam.
Rather than Islam or
the Old Testament. Or the Old Testament.
Okay, because I think it was an upgrade.
An upgrade, yeah? 2.0.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, right.
And it was a shift. It was a big shift from the Old Testament.
We had this conversation 2 weeks ago, didn't we?
No, we weren't talking about religion. We were talking about.
No, what did I? No.
We were talking about Israel.
No, we talked. No, I went on to say. I think, and if not, please forgive me. I'm going to say it now anyway. Yeah. I might have not said it. When we look at Western Europe and the political systems and the laws and ethics and morality, I agree with you that some of it emanates from Christianity, without a shadow of a doubt. However, as I said earlier on in this conversation, when Christendom in Europe had political power, there was blood on the streets like we were in a burger bar and there was ketchup everywhere. It was everywhere. So much so, the wars of the Reformation, a quarter to a third of the German population were annihilated. This was only 400 or 500 years ago. Annihilated. Why? Because Protestants and Catholics could not agree. Right? There were many other wars throughout the ages when Christendom was in power, utilizing the works of church fathers, of the Pope, and of their scripture. They were at each other's throats. Do you know what pacified Europe and took them out of this cycle of violence?
Trying to kill all the
No. The Enlightenment and the abandonment of the New Testament. All of it, not just Luther and Calvin. An actual abandonment of the New Testament.
And dogma is the problem.
That didn't end it.
Still didn't end it, no.
Whatever dogma, wherever that dogma comes from, is a problem.
So what gave Europe its peace was the abandonment of its religion. Of its religion.
Yeah, I don't think religion's a good
Of its
thing.
religion.
I don't think religion's a good thing.
Which is why today,
Why are you so
which is
so up for it? If you can see that historically it's
their
a good
religion,
thing.
their religion,
Oh, it's their religion.
their
is the
religion,
problem.
their religion.
Not religion in general.
It was a bit of a
Show me a population where there's been any schism where a third of a population has died akin to Germany or the Netherlands when the Spanish crown went into the Netherlands to force Catholicism against them, and where the Protestant Dutch fought back, or the schism between.
So, as far as you're concerned, you see Christianity as being a very violent religion.
At times, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
he's measuring by the people.
At times,
Apply
yes.
that to
By the
apply that to
outcome.
them.
At times, yes. Now, what I'm saying is, what saved Europe was them turning their back on their religion.
So why are you promoting your religion?
What turned
Why should we both
back?
be standing here in agreement and saying religion, dogma is a problem, not spirituality, not personal growth or personal development.
Now, you said something, Maggie. I said, where do you get your morals from? And yes, I can agree to a certain extent. We get our morals from our surroundings.
And from
From
looking inward.
inwards, no problem. From our parents, from our educational background, and certain other things. But how do we intrinsically know that those morals are correct?
We constantly look, we have to be self-aware.
God forbid the Third Reich won. And we're now here speaking German, and we lost the Battle of Britain. Right? We're all speaking German and eating sauerkraut. Right? No, it's good for you. It's
Good for your bio.
biome. Yeah, exactly. Do you follow Zoe at all? Online?
No.
YouTube?
No.
They talk a lot about that. So, but in all seriousness, if we were brought up in a system which is quite dire, or authoritarian, or whatever term you want to use, there will be certain evils for us would be normal. It's not evil. Like you get the guy in Papua New Guinea 100 years ago being a cannibal and eating his prisoner of war, whatever it was. It's normal to them. It's like, give me the mustard. This is lovely. But to us, we detest it. So what I'm saying is even so how do we differentiate the conditioning to what is intrinsically objectively moral? How do we sift that through?
It's a process of self-awareness, and also that's why free speech is so important, that you discuss, you come up with sort of conclusions, and if you really are brainwashed, it's a problem. You're really brainwashed in a really brainwashed society, it's a problem, because they will do evil things and think it's okay, which is where free speech and everything comes into its own, doesn't it? So you want to avoid brainwashing of any sort, including this brainwashing.
This, you choose to believe it or not. That's your choice. That's your choice.
Yeah, but it's not your choice if you're growing up in a country where everybody's saying it, you're sent to, after ordinary school, which is probably full of it, you then go to Islamic school. Everybody's saying the same thing. Why would you think any different? And then if you do think it, you're not allowed to apostatize, your family will disown you. If you decide you want to go out with a Christian man or whatever, your family will disown you. And they will point to verses in
So did you say Christian man?
Yeah, not you. I mean, if I wanted to, if I'm a Christian
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, or if you want to go with a Christian man, even more they'll disown you. You might decide that you realise you're gay and that you fall in love with a lovely Christian man. But your family will disown you and might even kill you.
But Christ disowns you if you go out with a man as well. There's love in Christ you keep proposing.
Christ is doing wrong as well. I'm saying any of that would be wrong to disown anybody.
Okay. We're all born in.
There are real
Go ahead.
crimes like murder. Murder's a crime.
Yeah, murder's a crime.
So you push a gay person out of a window, that is the worst crime. Murder is the worst crime. Not being gay, but pushing a gay person out of a window and killing them. Would you agree that that is worse than being gay?
This is what I believe. I believe as a Muslim, as a believing, observant Muslim, that homosexuality is a sin. Let me finish. It's a sin. It's a sin for a Muslim to enact the act itself. Not to have the feelings. I'm talking about feelings. attraction to men or women. Talking about the act itself is a sin. As you choosing not to believe in the religion of Islam is a sin. As you or anyone else having a pint of Stella is a sin. There are many sins, and that's one of them. Okay. How do I attempt to reconcile that today, where I am today? A Muslim living in Britain, 2024. Yeah? It's a sin. There's no difference. It's a sin. Now, does that mean if I see someone partaking in acts where society deem it, or the laws in this land deem it to be okay, and which contravenes my religion, okay, I can stay away from it. Yeah, choose not to enter that situation, which is ideal. Okay, doesn't mean I have to be abusive to the person. Doesn't mean I have to be physically violent to the person. I can't. As a Muslim, I don't know if you know this, Maggie. As a Muslim, I have to abide by the laws of the land. God says so. It's incumbent upon me. However, if I find myself in a situation where I might find awkward, okay, I can make my excuses and leave. And the law backs me up on that. I'm not forced to do certain things or to be within a certain situation. But like you're not Muslim, you're living in sin. I would like to think, even I've honestly spoken over you a few times, which I shouldn't have, I hope I haven't been like rude to you or like threatened you or made you feel like I'm going to attack you or anything. And that's how it goes with everyone and everyone. We have work colleagues, we have neighbours, we have people of different persuasions. Not only in this land, but even in Islamic lands traditionally. You have different people of different persuasions. Like I said about the hadith, going to bed full up and your neighbour goes to bed in an empty stomach. Like I said, they can be from any faith or persuasion. You can't discriminate. Just because they may be of a certain persuasion doesn't mean that you should turn your back on them or not help them when they need help. Because fundamentally, all we do as Muslims, we convey the message and the person listens. They either choose to accept or not. And then finally, what we believe is, on the Day of Judgment, that's between them and their Lord. It's between them and their Lord.
So is there a hierarchy of sin?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, Maggie. I can't go into much detail because of lack of knowledge. But yes, there are what we call like grave, high-level sins, and there are lesser sins.
So if someone kills someone in their family for being dishonourable because they committed sins,
Like an honour killing.
Yeah. Is the killing of that, is the murder worse than the original sin for which they are killed?
Yes. In Islam, in a Muslim country, or under Islamic law, or here in the West, or under any communism, any system, if a member of your family or a member of public or a member of the community does something, the Muslims are not allowed to do anything to that person. It's for the government to apprehend them, and they have their day in court, and they give them a ruling. You can't be a vigilante. Be it an honour killing, be it someone, Charlie Hebdo, for example, anything like that. It's not upon the Muslims to do anything. You can't. Even in a Muslim country, you can't take the law into your own hand and lynch that person or anything.
Do you think it's right that the state should do that for you? So do you think homosexuals should be killed, apostates should be killed? Or,
I think that, okay, bear with me. Listen to this. For a sexual act to be documented, be it homosexual, be it heterosexual, so this could be for adultery or fornication or whatever sex. You need 4 witnesses to see actual penetration. So not to be so graphic, not talking about some kind of movement happening, we're talking actual penetration, yeah? This is said in Islamic law, this is talked about, yeah? Regardless of the sex. Actual penetration by 4 people. But guess what? What you can't do is spy on people in Islamic law. So unless they're right in front of us, if they're in their home, I can't open the curtain and spy on them.
There are countries that do have the death penalty for apostasy, adultery, homosexuality. So what do you think about those countries who have those laws?
I think those countries that have those laws need to follow the law by the letter. Meaning they can't go in here say, so this person is that, or this person is this, or this person is that. They need to follow the letter of the law. But this is what I'm trying to say to you. Yeah? For judgment to be passed, you need 4 witnesses to see penetration.
It sounds like getting off on a technicality.
Exactly. 4 people to witness penetration, and you can't. And if it's
thrown off roofs and things, don't they?
Yes, but personally, if that's being done without the criteria being followed, that's an injustice in itself.
Well, I would say even if 4 people were there, not spying, and you just forgot where you were all of a sudden, I still think the killing of them would be worse than the buggery or the adultery or whatever it was you were doing.
That's your prerogative.
Murder, taking someone's life.
So you don't like murder at all, or the taking of life?
I'm not a fan of murder.
Yeah. No, I mean it in terms of capital punishment.
I don't believe in capital punishment. Do you?
I, from an Islamic standpoint, God forbid. So, if someone lost a family member to murder, and they had and then the defendant had their day in court, and they were deemed what do you call it? Guilty. Thank you, Assalamu alaikum. The best. They were deemed guilty. The family member, surviving family members, could choose the death penalty on the defendant, or could choose to forgive them, including compensation, monetary compensation. I hope I'm never in that position where a family member has died due to murder. Yeah. Let alone in that situation where I can choose whether capital punishment or not, or compensation. Islamically, it's down to the family, not to the state. So if you were in that situation, you can say, I forgive you. Or the crime could be so bad and so premeditated, and the person's definitely not insane. And that's another thing. In certain crimes, people are looked upon in terms of whether they're sane or not in Islam as well. So as we've here, I forgot to mention. But look, the crime could be so gruesome, so I don't want to go into detail, but just nuts.
Yeah.
But you might think, you know what, actually, you deserve not to live. Not from a vengeful standpoint. It's, mate, I can't trust you whether you're going to do it again.
I wouldn't let that person out, clearly. Yeah.
But where do we get our morals from?
Well, as you say, we come into the world and then we are bombarded with conditioning.
But it's subjective, isn't it?
Some of it good, some of it not so good. I think ultimately it's all subjective, but I also think that we have a duty to be self-aware, to look inward, so we can preach values of love and actually be a real nasty piece of work. We know that religious officials that do that because they haven't done the self-awareness, they haven't been honest and looked inside. So I think without that, all the doctrines in the world are irrelevant. It still comes back to, and I know, like I say, I could say that as a Catholic, that I know that as a Catholic, growing up.
But you're not really Catholic, are you?
No, I was brought up as a Catholic, so I think there's lots to criticise about Catholicism, but as a Catholic, inside Catholicism, it wasn't like, oh, we're preaching war and we're trying to kill babies or whatever you and your friend were saying about the Old Testament. Clearly that's not happening. It's a normal Catholic home, a normal Muslim. I've gone into people's homes a lot, worked with children in their homes, and I've been welcomed and treated very nicely in some Muslim homes and treated very badly in some Christian or Hindu
vice versa.
homes. So we can't generalise about what goes on in a home, but I would say, as an outsider to your religion, that this book doesn't stand up to scrutiny well. It isn't to say that you are a nasty person or any Muslims. I think the Muslims are the victims of this ideology, in particular women, but I think we're all the victims of having to be stuck to a rigid ideology. If you're not allowed to step outside or say, do you know what, I disagree with that, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and everyone says, well, that's fine, you can do that. If you're not allowed to do that, So I think the amount of dissonance within people in those countries is probably huge. But those very few people who are brave enough to come out against it, just like there weren't people brave enough to come out against the Catholic Church during the Inquisition and so on. People will be called witches if they did so and be burned. You know, so I think any sort of dogma and doctrine is a problem.
So what I would say about this is that, thank you, Maggie. This book was behind the first university which is in continuing existence today. Yeah, from my place of origin, where my parents come from, Morocco. In the city of Fez, there was a woman in the 800s called Fatima al-Fihri. And her father was a trader, a merchant. And when her father died, she won an enormous amount of inheritance. She'd actually inherit, by the way. Because in Islam, there's times when women inherit more than men, and there's times when men inherit more than women. So in this case, she had a shed load, and she basically invested it into a mosque and a university. This university predates Oxford, Cambridge, and Bologna in Italy. And the reason why I say Bologna, because that's quite ancient, that's probably 11th century. And this university today is still in existence, founded by a woman. Number two, she founded this mosque and university, and when she entered the mosque, she was able to speak. But yet in the New Testament, Paul says women's voices should not be heard in the church. Complete doesn't matter. That's Christianity. Right, that's another thing. Number two.
I think Christianity is not the teachings of Jesus.
No problem. Number two. This we believe is an objective standard. Objective. Like I was saying, regardless of what you believe or what I believe, we believe that if I make this watch, I will produce a manual for the watch saying, do not immerse in water deeper than 50 meters because it will stop working. Do not leave in the sun. Do not this, do not that, because it will be detrimental to the watch. What we believe is, with the Creator creating us, the Creator knows what's best for His creation. Hence, the Quran being the last and final testament to mankind. Objective. If we go on your understanding of subjectivity in terms of our morals and our ethics, one day this is good, the next day the same thing is bad. And I tell you why. If we believe something is good, and then 20 hours later, 1 week later, because society believes it's bad, then it's bad. So we were pointing our parents saying, you heathens, how dare you do this? And then we will reform ourselves, and then our children will do something and condemn us and their grandparents, and then another generation will come and then agree. It's impractical. What is deemed good is then bad, what is bad and then good. Meaning this, within society at any given point in time, if that society chooses something to be good, as abhorrent as it is to us today, going on your premise, we cannot say they are wrong.
I think there's
Did you hear what I said?
here that are abhorrent.
Did you hear what I said? What did I say?
You said that if somebody comes along and says something's abhorrent, we can't argue against
Why?
it.
Why?
We haven't got a dogma.
No, I never said that, Maggie. You're talking about society themselves deeming what is good or bad. Society themselves. The framework is society. Right, therefore, they have, society at any particular time has the prerogative, has the prerogative to decide what is good or bad. If we enlist that upon society in general, this is our framework. We say, here you go, society. You have the prerogative now to choose for yourselves what is good or bad. If they say child sacrifice is good, because we believe in that framework, that they have the prerogative, then we cannot condemn them. Because we are saying it's down to society to subjectively choose what is good or bad at any time. Do you see the problem?
Society isn't a religion. Society is a...
I never said that.
No, but it's what I'm saying is if society can't just all of a sudden say child sacrifice is wrong, the society is the sum total of all of us. Is it?
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
I am.
I don't think you're understanding it.
Without a moral framework, society can start saying that we should kill children and we've got nothing to argue.
No, they have a moral framework.
I don't what is your point? Make it
My
more,
point
make
is this.
It more simple, then.
The moral framework is the prerogative of society.
What do you mean?
Their prerogative, whatever they deem to be good or bad.
Well, then you're making it sound like there's a day. We are society. Society is us.
Society today, society in 100 years from now, society
It moves on.
society 2,000 years ago.
Society moves on. We
No problem.
longer hang people up from time
But this is
gallows,
okay.
do we?
But the framework, the mechanism, the system they're using, whatever.
Are you talking about the ideologies or the laws?
The laws, to simplify it, morals. The laws, what is good or bad, is deemed by society. At any given point in time, it's down to the prerogative of society.
Right.
Society chooses.
So you mean in a democratic society?
Whatever. Society chooses.
You're making an point that's important to you.
Okay.
You're not specifying what society.
I'll be specific.
Yeah, let's be specific to now.
Now, okay.
We've got the gender ideologies.
No, forget that. We've got the election coming up in 5 weeks or 4 weeks. I'm going to run as an independent. No. Joe Bloggs is going to run as an independent. Joe Bloggs produces a manifesto. Yeah. In the manifesto of Joe Bloggs is, guess what? I'm going to increase the NHS budget by 1,000%. I'm going to stop the boats. I'm going to have 2 squadrons of planes and 5 divisions along the southern coast. No more boats, whatever. I'm going to stop the evolution of Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales and bring it all back to Westminster. I'm going to do more dentists, whatever. Okay. However, I'm going to have a clause in my manifesto that if I am voted in and chosen by the people, I'm going to have a clause where incest is legal. Incest is legal. However, to accommodate the detractors, the people who say, oh, I'm going to remove the harm principle, meaning if you want to partake, and this is my manifesto, if you want to partake in incest, they are both to be, what's the word? I've lost my words. Can't have children. Infertile. Right, made infertile through an operation. Right. And then, protection as well. Why not? Okay. And every other blood test you could think of. Yeah? And then I win, Joe Bloggs wins the election. Yeah? Yeah?
So you're saying
Wait,
that
Joe
people that are
Bloggs wins the election. Now, this is the thing. I stand in Parliament with a majority of MPs. Yeah, or Joe Bloggs does it, and he says, right, Division South Coast, stop the boats. SNP, you're never going to rule again because there's no more devolution for Scotland. Plaid Cymru, see you later. If you want anything, you have to have a seat in Westminster only, no more. Money for the NHS, and I'm going to enlist, I'm going to make a special department in NHS where we can facilitate the action of incest, hysterectomies and all sorts, and we've got a clinic especially for that by Russell Square somewhere. Yeah? Right. Yeah. And then yeah. But this is only able to be allowed because society has chosen it and deemed it to be moral. However, if you want to do it, or I want to do it, or Joe Bloggs wants to do it, they can do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It's there. We can accommodate you. Yeah? Is that moral or immoral? Immoral. But using your framework, it's allowed. We can't. So what I'm saying is we, from a legalistic standpoint, cannot condemn them. They've got a right to do it.
So you're saying democracy?
Because, not necessarily democracy, but what society chooses.
Well, society didn't choose it because it sounds like that thing kind of got in the weight of all the other things, and people didn't really think much about the incest bit.
There could have been.
If they ran on incest first, they probably wouldn't have got voted.
Who knows? There could have been a lobby group pushing for it, and they could have been saying, Maggie, we need to treat everyone equally, even though we find it abhorrent, we should at least afford them the right to do it, regardless.
The thing is,
Do you understand my point?
Yeah. To go back to at different books and running our world around those books.
But the thing is, Maggie.
That's not a belief.
But Maggie.
Hang on. He's not saying incest. The Lord said you shall commit incest because I've channeled this book, and that's what it is.
I'm not talking about that.
No, I know you're not. I'm saying.
So what are you mentioning it for?
Because I think morally that this is not a good book to live by.
Let me tell you something.
I don't think it's a moral book.
Using your framework,
So
but Maggie, using your framework, even though you said it's immoral, using your framework, do they have the right to do it using my scenario? Do they still have the right to enact incest under those parameters?
legally, if they can get through and
Do they have the right?
No, it's not a right. It's not a right.
Of course it's a right.
It's a process. Legally, you have to get things through the House of
I've just
Commons
talked about
and
it.
the House of-
It's happened.
Legally they would have a right.
They have a right.
But it's not happened, does it?
Show me incest.
But it got nearly. But
Show me incest. Show me incest. Sorry.
All right, but in
Sorry.
fairness, Christians and everybody else, they're not committing.
Maggie, guess what? Maggie, guess what?
Yeah.
Using that framework,
So, but this framework is flawed
Maggie,
as well.
but Maggie,
You can't
but
say
Maggie, hear me out.
wrongs don't make
No
a
problem.
right.
But Maggie, hear me out. What I'm getting at is this. The overarching point is this. Using that framework we've discussed, because you talked about society, and then I've got that framework, we've discussed it through its whole life cycle. Using that framework, by rights, anything can happen beyond incest.
So you feel this
Anything can happen.
this is a safeguard against
Bestiality can happen. Bestiality can happen. God forbid, doing it with an oak tree can happen. I don't know what technical term that would be.
acorn on
Yeah, nothing towards the Welsh, but yeah, get a sheep. Yeah,
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
see
no, but
this-
in all
so your point is.
but in all seriousness,
So your point is that for you, this is a security framework that is solid,
No.
that's not going to change, and you feel it protects against.
I say it's objective.
Well, what's objective about it? Because it's somebody who's claiming to have channeled something.
Okay, that's a different discussion.
And that's a belief.
That's no problem, but that's a different discussion. Because
Well,
if
does
you,
one come from the other?
no problem, but look, when someone says this book is immoral, and it's the most, I'm not saying you're saying this, in general, this book is immoral and it's the most dangerous book ever to exist, or whatever, just by using your framework, society can enact laws where Lassie could be the partner of John. John and Lassie could actually be physical sexual partners. Yeah, where Sarah and John, who are brother and sisters, could be actually have sexual partners. And you know what that means, innit? Civil marriage.
Do you know what?
Hold on, civil marriage.
Think about first cousins.
Hold on. Maternity leave, paternity leave. It goes through everything.
Because that causes a huge amount of congenital difficulties. And in lots of Islamic countries, there is a huge amount of marrying first cousins.
I wouldn't say huge amount, but it happens.
Which is a large statistic in the
I wouldn't say huge amount.
Islamic community.
Here in the UK, yeah. Yeah. That's a fantastic.
Anyway,
No, can I answer that question? That's a fantastic question. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but thank God,
that's my mum's.
the NHS, first cousins, yeah. The NHS up north, generally speaking, up north, are now giving couples certain DNA tests to see what the likelihood is if they share a particular deformed gene or whatever, it can cause a horrendous
Disability.
with marriage or with anything. I've mentioned it in our hypothetical discussion. You definitely have the harm principle, 100%. So when it comes to marriage, you have to look at harm, business transaction, anything, you have to look at harm. So if with the increased understanding through science and technology, that it can be determined that, look, you within your generation, 5 generations back, there's been a couple of cousins marrying, and there's potential if you guys then marry, it could be detrimental. From an Islamic perspective, it could be, what's the word? Like forbidden or encouraged not to do it. So Islam will happily incorporate that, no problem. No problem. The judge could actually say, no, we will not marry you, it's illegal.
So what you're saying is for you like the fact that there's a set of rules and parameters, and you feel like democracy has got the potential to bring in some horrendous changes in our society. So any negatives from this is sort of far outweighed by the positives of having that clear framework that to you feels like a very moral and objectively true.
Yes, however, democracy doesn't always necessarily mean there's going to be a huge continuation of things, basically like a bad society that happens. I'm not generally saying that. There are good things that emanate from democracy, obviously, not a shadow of a doubt. But there is the opportunity of bad things like that happening. Because the safeguard, generally speaking, the safeguard is society. Yeah. Now, you can argue there's the executive, there's the legislative, and there's the judiciary. Okay. Now, for us here in the UK, you know, I think it was Blair who set up the Supreme Court, wasn't it? I believe. Yeah, it was Blair. But they have it in America, like the Supreme Court. Yeah, Blair set it up here recently. Yeah, well, relatively recently. So look, you could talk about. We can argue generally there's safeguards. You've got to dismember somehow that, like in America, for example, the executive from the legislative, so they can't, you know, lean on each other too much, and also the judiciary's got to be independent. Even in Islam, the judiciary's got to be independent as well.
So do you feel like you would like us to have, the world should have Sharia law?
What's important to me is, from an Islamic standpoint, people to be given the opportunity to choose what they want. Choice. Now, if you choose to be Muslim, that's fine. If you don't choose, then that's your then that's your prerogative.
So you don't want Sharia?
Sharia law. Look.
Because in other words,
People. Go ahead.
If it's not Sharia law, then it's not really a protection. If it's not Sharia law, then this is not a protection, is it?
Look,
because if it's democracy, people misusing democracy, if you like.
This is the issue. Fundamentally, everyone has a system of governance they believe is superior. Be it a liberal democracy, we believe, well, I'm born and raised here, don't forget, okay? We believe, generally speaking, as a society or a nation, or the Western Hemisphere, or whatever you want to call it, that liberal democracy is best. So much so, we will invade and impose it upon other people. Watch out, Maggie. We will invade and impose it on people. The communists think the same thing. The Orthodox practicing Jews think the same thing about their religious codes. Those Jews in Golders Green, they believe the same thing. A Muslim could believe the same thing. It's best for man. Not from all aspects, not necessarily that it's superior, but a genuine feeling that it's actually best for mankind. Rather than having, you know, a big head about it, just think it's actually best for mankind. It's actually going to benefit mankind. Okay? Now, saying that as a Muslim, not a moderate Muslim, not a wacky-backy, you know, whatnot, pick and choose what I want. No, let's just be classical about it. As with a Christian or a Jew, or probably a Hindu, yeah, and as a Muslim, your religion is exclusive, generally speaking, in terms of salvation. Generally speaking, we have caveats. I'm sure the Christians might have caveats. Maybe the Jews as well might have caveats. That somehow you could be saved not being a Jew or a Christian and a Muslim. Generally speaking, yeah, there could be caveats. But at the same time, someone proposing liberal democracy or Marxism or communism.
You know those are all just beliefs, don't you?
I know. But even the other beliefs, in terms of political ideologies, people could believe, yeah, these are best for mankind. Okay? So I think the problem we have is this. There's a perception that Sharia law or Muslims are almost a fifth column when it comes to UK society and the country.
They are a bit of a fifth column, aren't they? If they're all feeling that they want to, actually we should all go back to a Muslim system, then they
Did I say that?
Well, what do you mean by fifth column?
No. a Muslim system.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Well, you're saying that the world would be better. I'm not talking about you specifically, but if all of that fifth column believes that we should have this system, and then you've got one column that's feeling, no, they're not literally five. Imagine there's this group that want us to have like a very left-wing sort of Marxist reality, another group that want us to have a Christian reality, another that want us to have a Muslim reality, and another that kind of like the way it is, like with democracy, trusting democracy, blah, blah, blah.
But this is the point. What I'm trying to say is that...
So that's why it's a fifth column.
But it's all a fifth column.
Yeah, you could say anything depending on what point of view you
Well, that's my point. I've spoken to British Christians who say we should have an authoritarian regime under the church. If we're going to have a king as a leader of the Church of England, but this is my point. What I'm saying is this. Even though a Muslim may believe that Islam, just in general, the belief, or someone adopting the religion is better for mankind or a particular individual or society, it doesn't necessarily mean they're somehow hold on. I'll give you an example. Birmingham, roughly several years back, Trojan horse. Do you remember? Seriously, Maggie, you don't remember? Trojan horse, Birmingham. There was an educational setup where there was talk of a group of Muslims trying to infiltrate state schools with this Islamist agenda. This cabal of Muslims, like the guy said about Siddiq Khan, he's got a cabal of Islamists with him. Yeah, this cabal of Muslims. And then the government actually had to do an inquiry with the police and all sorts. They said it was a fabrication. You know what it was like? It was akin to the Protocols of Zion. It was literally like the Protocols of Zion. This fabricated.
You don't think there are any?
But listen. Listen to me. What I'm saying, Maggie, is okay. There's a danger of Muslims in this country, as with other parts of Europe, because I remember a time when it wasn't like this, right? That the Muslims are a fifth column and they're the other. And they're dangerous to us. And they want to destroy our freedoms and our liberties, which I believe is total and utter nonsense. You know what the most Muslims want? A good NHS, a good educational system, being able to work and put food on the table and to support their families, and a decent level of rent and the cost of living.
Those people are just normal. But if we go back to what's written in the book, it is your duty to bring about a Muslim state and to fight against us until we do believe.
No.
There's loads of verses.
Listen.
I'm not making it up.
You are.
I'm not. I've read it.
No, I think, Maggie, you're being sincere.
I am being sincere.
But you're incorrect.
Because you've had an imam who said, no, it doesn't mean that it means this.
No.
But has the word stand in their own right?
No. Listen to this.
Well, some people have interpreted that way. Some people, do you remember, ISIS weren't just a few random people. En masse people went over there to follow their interpretation of these words, because these words are open to that interpretation.
Let me ask you something.
And they actually, they got off their butts and did it, and went and did it. Do you know Ilford?
Yeah.
So I was in Ilford around about 2013. There's a big, like a table outside the town hall where people were recruiting for Islamic State.
What?
Before Islamic State was the thing, it was a thing, but they were at the recruiting stage. And I was talking to them, and I remember their faces. And I even looked up their faces online to see did they die. One young man was elated. He was like, he was like mania going on there, like a religious exaltation. He was really, really high on it. And they were very nice young men. And I was saying to them, well, why don't you, if there are Islamic states, aren't they? No, they're not good enough. We want a real problem. They were nice boys, and they went over there. Maybe they didn't like what they see. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't what they certainly weren't saying. We want to go and kill people. They just wanted to create this state. So I'm saying that these words. Well, why not have why not reform? Why not do what many religions have done and look at it and say, be absolutely clear now, as a modern community, you like the reform, like you get reformed Jews, don't you, from the Jews. Why not have a thing to say, do you know what, that was in its context, as your friend was saying, the context, in that context, but now this is what we want, and make it absolutely clear as a community.
If you want that,
well, not for me to want it.
fair enough. Whoever wants that has to then make sure that the remainder of the world has to also reform. Because when people espouse...
People would come over to it, wouldn't they? Like they do in Reform Jews.
This is the thing, Maggie.
Strict Jews and Reform
Maggie,
Jews.
this is the thing.
Strict Christians and Reform Christians.
Maggie, this is the thing. Islam accommodates peace. Islam accommodates...
What were those boys getting wrong?
Islam accommodates peace between a state and another state. Okay, between the peoples and another peoples. Okay, between trade and all sorts. Islam accommodates war. What I'm saying is nothing new to any other ideology or political system in the world, including the United Nations. The United Nations has a framework of violence and war. There are reasons when you can do it and when you should not do it. And if you do it, how to do it, including in Islam. When to do it, when not to do it, and if you cease and how, and if you are doing it, how you should do it. So international law and relations was encompassed within Islam since the beginning of Islam.
So he's got there's no room for,
no
room for editing.
No, hold on. If we're going to edit something, and we are true about editing something, why don't we start where the rooster roosts?
Which is your point?
Which is my point is, if we love our country, and we have the most respect and esteem for our armed forces, and for the mother of parliaments, and all sorts, why should we not then make sure that wars like Iraq under false pretense should never ever happen again, and reform the system to ensure, let me finish, to ensure that doesn't happen again. Hold on. No, I'm not.
I'm saying, what about reforming this?
No, I'm not. Maggie, if we love our system so much, we should...
It's deeply flawed, and people
listen to this.
Violations that
Listen to this. I might not surprise you. I'm thinking. Prime Minister Mossadegh, if I pronounced him correctly. 1953 Iran. Guess what they had? A democratic, fair election. He came into power. Do you know what he did wrong? You know BP, British Petroleum, BP. Back then, it was called British Iranian something, right? It was the precursor to BP. He said, for the Iranian people, I'm going to nationalize it, take control for my people, and invest it in all sorts. Democratically elected. CIA, MI6, what did they do? They instigated a coup d'etat. Let me finish. They instigated a coup d'etat and took him out because they didn't want BP to be nationalized. If sincere people want this to be reformed to reflect what they believe is moral and correct, they shall also point to the Mother of Parliaments in Westminster.
People do.
The United Nations, Congress in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, Addis Ababa, Timbuktu. Let me finish. And everyone should reform. But the problem is this. This is the problem. What we have blinkers on. The most dangerous book ever to exist, i.e. the Quran. You guys are backwards. You guys need to reform. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. If you want to do it, Iraq 3.0, marhaba, you're welcome. I'll even buy you shawarma. Go ahead. Oh no, the Muslims are bad. Congress, Beijing, do what you want. What I'm getting at is not pointing the finger. What I'm getting at is there's a lack of consistency. There's a lack of consistency, and no problem. The reason why there's a lack of consistency is because the Muslims are being portrayed as a fifth column within Western society, and they're dangerous, and they want to subvert our way and our systems. Yeah, they want. Let me wait.
Why it's a good system.
Wait. Listen to what I'm saying. They want the black flag over Downing Street. Yeah, they want the black flag over Downing Street. Okay, listen.
You said yourself, you think this is a superior method than democracy.
Listen. I said that it's not that it's a superior. It's not that those who propose any other ideology necessarily say it's superior. What they believe is best for mankind. It best suits and accommodates what is best for mankind. That you have to. Maggie.
I'm sorry to follow your thought. So if people...
Maggie, I'm getting really tired.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just going to say this. You have to detract me believing it's best for you to be a Muslim to then think we should have Sharia law UK-wide and worldwide.
You're not the only person speaking for Islam, that's the thing. So, and if other people think it's best, and if there did become a majority that were able to take that, then we could become an Islamic country. And people who don't like Islamic
Through a majority.
Through a majority.
Not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily, but it's a possibility. So that's what
Anything's possible. We can be Buddhist in 100 years.
people don't like.
Listen.
They don't want it to be a religious, they want it to be a secular.
This is not secular.
Except for the Christian people.
This country's not secular.
No, it's a Christian, it's based on Christianity.
Right, yeah, so
but
it's not secular.
But it's not Christian rules.
It's not secular.
We haven't got Christian
I would probably say...
People have sex outside marriage.
I would say France is probably more secular. We talked about this 2 weeks back. They were the Britons. And they were... No, the whole of the Britain. They were pagans, Druids, whatever. And then you had Romans come in. And I'm sure you know this. When the Romans came in, they weren't all from Rome. They were North Africans, they were Middle Easterners, they were Germanics, they were Gauls. They were from literally the legions, the soldiers themselves were from the entire empire. So we're like, whoa, I don't like this multiculturalism. You bloody Romans, piss off back to Rome. Right? Yeah, but it was true though. And then so much so, the Romans had to build the wall up north. So you guys, you Picts, just stay up there. And, you know, we took Wales, they took Wales and whatnot. And then when the Romans had these Germanic Vandals, you know the Vandals sack Rome, hence we use the term vandalism after the Germanic tribe Vandal. Yeah. So the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, when they did what they did in roughly the 400s and sacked Rome, and then the Romans left this country, the Britons were like, whoa, we actually missed them now. We've learned some of their ways and customs, but oh no, who are they? These guys from Jutland, and these Germanic guys called the Saxons, and there's these Frisians and Jutes, and who the hell are they? These bloody foreigners. And then they came in and did pretty much like the Romans did. There was an element of assimilation. The language changed again. The religion changed a bit as well. And then you had this really confusing guy. And then you had the Vikings as well, towards the north. So you had what was called Danelaw. Yeah, so if you follow Watling Street, up north, west or north or west of Watling Street was Danelaw, and the south was Saxon land, if you like. Okay? Right? Going up from, look at London, going diagonally straight up towards Manchester, Cheshire. Yeah? That's how it was split. So then you had and then this guy from Normandy came. You know what Norman means?
Norseman from the Vikings.
Thank you. The king of France, because he kept getting like us here back in the day with the Vikings and whatnot, they kept on sacking Paris and other places. So they got one of these Vikings, and put them in Normandy, the Northmen, as a buffer to stop them. And then he brought French. So we've got the Celtic language, we've got the Roman language, we've got these Germanic language like the Jutes, the Saxons and whatnot. Now we've got a fake Frenchman who's actually a Northman, or a Norseman, but they speak French. Hey, he so much decimated the aristocrats, that most of them, the lords and the dukes and whatnot, were actually Norman. Yeah, the language of the court and government got changed to Norman, no more Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, and then your Irish roots, and then you had a chieftain in Ireland who had beef with another chieftain. What did he do? He went to Wales, where the Normans were, and said, "I need your help." So then the Normans in the 1100s, I think, went into Ireland, and that was the beginning of the English conquest of Ireland, ironically. So then they went into Ireland and did the same thing to the Celts, which the Saxons and the Romans did. And then our language got changed. We not only had Celtic, we had a bit of Roman, a bit of Anglo-Saxon, a bit of Saxon, and now a bit of French. Yeah? And then we didn't have a king. So we went, "Oh, William of Orange, you're from Holland, come be our king." Then we had someone from Holland to be our king. And then we had Queen Victoria and all that Germanic line.
It turned out nice.
And then all of our royal family were German. Hold on, it took them 4 generations before one of our kings or queens actually spoke German, English as the first language. It took generations for the first one to be born who actually spoke native English. And then don't forget, the Saxons, after the Saxons, they brought in Christianity. So those from the Romans and the Celts were saying, "No, but I like my pagan gods. I like worshipping a tree." No, it's about Christianity.
Some of the Romans actually.
It's about
Some of the Romans, like
some.
Augustus.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, our island has always been in a state of influx, linguistically, politically, religiously, in a state of influx. Fluctuations from outsiders, always. I'm not using this as an excuse to say, yeah, it'll be majority Muslim here in 100 years. Doubtful, very much. But the matter of the fact is, these isles have always fluctuated different peoples and different languages and cultures and religions. And it's not an exception, as with the whole world. As with the whole world. It happens.
But you were making it sound like people who were worried about areas becoming Islamified were somehow just bigots. And I'm saying that if that isn't, for you, that's nothing, because you don't.
What is Islamicized? What do you mean?
I guess if they feel that they can't go in an area
Are you serious?
No, I don't know, because I don't live in it. But I'm saying just because those people are worried about something,
I think those people live in a bubble.
they are somehow bigger.
They've got more issues wearing an OK watch, walking in the West End where they should be having problems, just down the road, wearing an OK watch, than walking into a predominantly Muslim area. They've got more problems with that. They've probably got more problems, maybe, walking in mosque side.
If you go to Forest Gate is a predominantly
You know?
Forest Gate is a predominantly Muslim area, and it is quite dangerous in Forest Gate.
No, it's safe.
There were gangs.
It's safe. They're killing each other. It's safe.
It's not. I know kids that were, I used to teach over there. I know kids that were
But
yeah, but I mean,
I'm sorry, but so is mosque side. But there's shitty areas everywhere. But is that?
We can go down the rabbit. I honestly don't know anything about that, but I do know that
Go ahead. Have your final.
I do not want to be ruled by this doctrine.
That's your point.
Any more than I want to be ruled by Catholic doctrine or any other doctrine.
That's your choice.
Bearing in mind the history, the ad hoc history that we've had, I think we've done pretty well. I think this is that's why people do want to come here, because there is freedom. There is, it's relatively safe compared to other places, and you are allowed to do your own thing by and large. Let's hope that incest and bestiality and things don't get added to those lists.
But it's a possibility.
You're allowed to do. Well, I think in Germany, there was a scenario which probably nobody could have foreseen that happened, and then they worked through, and there was we humans battled against the evil, and we all agree that was the wrong thing. So, clearly democracy can fail. But also bad things do get done in countries that have this as their framework.
Do you know the Prime Minister of Italy? What's her name?
Georgia.
Yeah, something. Milana. She, albeit she was relatively young, like early 20s or mid 20s, she's on record saying Mussolini was a good thing for Italy. A good thing. Mussolini killed a quarter of the Libyan population in concentration camps. When Libya was trying to colonize, so when fascist Italy was trying to colonize Libya.
But disagreement of this doesn't equal fascism.
You're Ash. Do you understand? We have a prime minister
So that's
hold on. But my point is this. We have a prime minister of one of the G7, of one of the major members of NATO. Okay, who's giving thumbs up to Mussolini, saying he was a good thing for Italy.
That's what fascism is. Fascism is also one of the
Where was the condemnation when she flew to Brussels, or she flew, or maybe to London if she hasn't been yet, I don't know, or to Paris, or to Berlin, or to Madrid? Where's the condemnation? Where's the condemnation? You're propagating a man who propagated mass murder and genocide on the people, and we know, this is important, Maggie, we know if she was able to, she would reinstigate that fascist system within her country like that. She would replicate it, so much so she's got probably a black suit ready hanging in her wardrobe. Yeah, the black suit, yeah?
I think she has been criticised.
Right. Nice speaking to you as always. Do you want to finish off? Because I need to.
I was just going to say, I think the reason that she has had a chance to get in at all is because the extreme left-wing silencing of anything, and if you're calling it bigotry, has led to people going further. So it doesn't help, does it? Stopping free speech does not help protect us from fascism, because then people who just want to get to speak, you shouldn't be calling everyone bigots and transphobes and racists and everything else when they're raising issues. Some of them may be all of those things, but if innocent people get called out, then they'll say, "Fuck you, yeah, all right, I am." You know, let's take it to the next level. But and like Hitler got in, I guess, because people they were powerless, weren't they, after the First World War, after all the reparations. So they got the hump. So you want to try not to let people. Yeah.
Maggie, we'll leave it there. Likewise.
Have a nice afternoon.
You too, look after yourself.
Have a drink of water.
Yeah, we'll do.
You need to give your thing. You've got a little thing on your.
Oh yeah. Thanks again.